never really had any issues until I started getting to the age where I was wondering, hey, why is my dad not here? Why is he not in my life? And at that point, I kind of knew that he had chose to not be in my life. So, like every other girl, I was kind of just searching for that security. And I have an older brother, and he had a good friend that was always at the house, and we trusted him. He spent the night from when he was a kid. And so one day, like my mom always did, she left me with my brother while she had to go run out errands and stuff like that. And his friend was there. And my brother, not thinking, he just ran up to the road to a neighbor's house and left me alone with his friend. And this guy took advantage of the situation, and I was 11 years old. And I didn't really understand what was going on because I trusted this guy. He was like family. I didn't really understand a guy-girl relationship at that point, and I hadn't really seen an example of it. So he told me that this is what people did who were in love, and kind of just forced himself on me. And that kind of took my innocence as a child, because I didn't understand the situation, I didn't understand what was going on, and I didn't want it to happen. So that was a turning point in my life. It kind of skewed my view of guys in general. I had no trust for guys, especially with my father not being there, and I always kind of blamed him for not being there and to protect me, and my brother as well. So from that point on, I had a skewed view of love, and I was just kind of experiencing things in a different way because of that situation. So I grew up in middle school, and things started to get a little bit worse. New doors were starting to be opened with, meeting guys at that age, and even going to parties and feeling like I was older than what I really was because of what I'd been through. And so I had put myself in situations where, there was no way that I could protect myself or say no. And so as a young girl, you need to know that you have to avoid those situations as well. I met new friends in high school and kind of slipped back into the point of, I have this entire past and God can't use me because of what I've gone through in my life. And so still no father in the picture at that point. Once I get up to my senior year, my mom starts, dating and kind of having men around and stuff like that, which causes more issues. So as I get out of high school, my mother and I, started kind of butting heads like all teenagers kind of do, and moved a guy into the house who naturally I butt heads with because of my trust issues. So I'm doing everything I can to get out of the house, and at that point I'm kind of experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and just because I just didn't want to go home. I didn't want to be at home in that situation. It got bad enough to where I felt like nothing was ever going to turn around. I was unclean, and no guy would ever see me as clean, and I didn't really fit into my family, and I didn't feel like I had a place in the world. That's when I took a gun and held it to my head, and just in this smallest voice, something I'd never heard in my entire life, never heard anything like it before. My first encounter with the Holy Spirit, with God in my life, was Him just saying, no, that you don't understand what I have for you. You don't understand the purpose of your life or what's coming for you, And so at that point, I put the gun down, and I decided, just give it another shot. And I want to say that things got easier, that I turned around from that point, but they didn't. I still hadn't had a heart change. God was chasing me, but I wasn't chasing Him yet. And so at that point, me and my mother were still fighting. Me and my stepfather were fighting pretty badly. I was going to church off and on, and at this point, a young lady had invited me to a church in Gainesville, and really just pushed at me to come and really get involved in my life, and the pastor there did too. And that's what I want to express here at Jefferson is, you don't know what you're doing when you invite somebody to church. You don't know what you're doing when you tell them about love. You don't know who you're rescuing or what situation you're taking them out of. So don't ever miss an opportunity to reach out to somebody, to invite them, because that small gesture could change a life like it did mine. So at that point I started changing, and I still had a couple more nights where I felt like it was just the end. You know, I had overdosed on diet pills, which is, you know, of course something that all girls will struggle with at some point. I don't know why that just comes to mind, but it does, and I want you to know that that's not something that you should ever feel about yourself, you know. So I tried to overdose on diet pills, and it didn't do anything. I didn't lose a pound except for all the vomit that I threw up. And that was, you know, another point that God said, I'm still not done with you. I'm sorry, this isn't your choice to end it this soon. And so, you know, he was there with me in my room that night when I did that. His presence was very real with me that night. And so the next turning point that I had was, I reached the end of my rope with my mom and my stepdad. And me and my mom had got into a fight that became physical. And my stepdad was right there along with it. And so then that's what our fights became. They became physical. And so I would, you know, come to church and not tell anybody what was going on. Of course, it was just kind of being noticed, though, that I was different. And then finally I had a big altercation with my family, and I had gotten a black eye and been cut, and came to church, and that's when somebody finally said something. You know, the pastor that I had introduced me to a family that I actually still live with now. They brought me in the office and, you know, said that, you know, we know that we know you're going through something, and we know that you may think that this is just your life, but it's not what God has planned for you right now. And, you know, they just had been given a word that they should offer their home to me, and they did. And it was so much more than that. You know, they took me in, and they prayed with me, and they comforted me, and kind of just showed me that, you know, I did deserve love, and that I didn't need to run from the life that I had. And they helped me with my relationship with my mother and my stepfather, and who is my stepfather today. And I still have and I have a relationship with them now that's wonderful. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing, just taking that step back and having the people that I live with, the Smiths, pour into me and really just encourage me and build me back up